Welcome back to the Contractor Marketing Show. I'm your host, Matt Thibeau, and today we have a very special guest. Today we have Randy from 4Level Coach. How's it going today, Randy?
Excellent. I can't wait to get going here, man.
Yeah, man, we were chatting a little bit before this podcast, and it seems like we have some really good stuff to share. Guys, if you're tuning in right now, I'm really excited because today Randy's going to share with us the 5 secret weapons to close more deals and charge exactly what you're worth. I'm glad that I got that right. He was telling me a little bit about like some of these things. And I think if you're listening to this right now and maybe you're thinking to yourself, man, like I just can't really charge what I want to be charging, you know, I'm always getting undercut. Or maybe you're just struggling to be able to land the type of jobs that you want to land. Today, Randy's going to break a lot of that stuff down. And I think that you guys are really in for a big treat here. So first off, Randy, who are you, man? And what do you guys do?
So 4Level Coach, we work with builders and remodelers, including, you know, when you and I chatted about a lot of people in your group are landscapers, which we see landscapers as outdoor remodelers, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we work with remodelers, whether it be indoor, outdoor, and custom home builders. We help people really on the business side. It's getting the numbers right, getting the financials dialed in so we can understand how we need to price to get the right money, to build the right teams. Because if we don't charge enough, we'll be stuck on our hamster wheel forever. And I'd imagine a lot of listeners feel that feeling of being stuck on a hamster wheel, right? We're running 100 miles an hour every day, but not necessarily getting anywhere quick. Well, in order to get off the hamster wheel, it really does come down to, you know, your marketing, bringing the right opportunities, the right leads that we can turn into good paying clients, but we got to charge the right money to do that. And you refer to positioning. I think you used the word positioning. Yeah. We're talking about it from, you know, how we show up. It's the same thing. Positioning or how we show up is going to be your ability to have them know, like, and trust you. And if you do that, you build confidence. And when we have confidence, we can close more deals at higher price points. And ultimately, what 4Level Coach is about is bringing that all together and then creating the systems around you that free you from the day-to-day to work on your business and not in it. We've all heard that term. And until we get that done, you know, we'll really have a job in our business. And we want to, you know, turn our businesses into real well-oiled machines if we're ever going to make a fortune and not just a living.
Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into the 5 things that you were talking about. Real quick, before we get into that, though, in just a minute, can you talk a little bit about why is it actually important that we solve this issue of like charging what you're worth, like profitability, all these things? Why is that important for a contractor listening right now? Maybe he's got, you know, a bit of a smaller team or something. Why is it important to sort that stuff out?
Well, and you've used the term charging what you're worth a couple of times, right? And I think that I think that can be a term that is almost like not fully understood, because what the hell am I worth?
Yeah.
How do I know what I'm worth until I actually know my numbers? And the problem is, you know, one of the 7 common pricing mistakes, I'll talk about one of them, is, you know, we're pricing using a markup. Often, right? We're figuring out what our costs are, and then we put a markup on that cost, and we then want to make some money from our markup, and we hope we've marked it up enough that we can be profitable at the end to build our teams. But the truth of the matter is, until we know how we run our business and what our break-even percentage is, how the hell do we know what markup will actually get us the right return and profitability for us to grow and scale? Right. So this whole thing is, you know, we have to understand our numbers to be able to understand our business, and we got to not be using a markup without understanding what our break even is. And so there's a whole lot that goes around with that. And, you know, what we're worth is a hell of a lot more than normally what we're charging, but we're fearful of being able to charge more money. And this is so cool. You and I were chatting about this before, and I think this is a key point, right? Because if we are trying to compete with our competitor that does not understand their business, they do not understand their numbers, and they're putting together pricing that's not making them any money, why the fuck are we trying to compete with that?
100%.
We have to get ourselves outside of that box and say, look, I'm not trying to compete with, this guy that does not understand their business. I need to understand mine. When I understand mine, and I know my numbers, and I know what my break even is, I know how to charge and what the break markup is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to start doing. Now, do I have to outcompete them and show up differently, like you said before? Your positioning, like you said? Yes. All of these 5 secret weapons we're going to talk about is what separates you from the competition.
Yeah.
Because if we're trying to compete with them, please don't do that. It's gonna have you stuck on your hamster wheel for a very long time, because you'll never make enough money to grow and scale a business, put the right people in place.
Yeah.
And take this thing.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because before this podcast, one of our newer clients, he's kind of going through a bit of a paradigm shift right now. And he took a screenshot of a contractor in a local group.
Sure.
And the contractor was like, hey guys, this month we're offering 50% off duct cleaning services, blah, blah, blah. And like in the comments, he's like, and like, we'll throw this in, we'll do this. And he was like, I finally understand now what you've been teaching me about positioning and about this. Because when I see this, it's painfully obvious now that this guy's just whatever work, whatever,
yeah.
I'll take whatever I can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it is probably already underpriced. He probably wasn't making enough money at 100%, let alone 50% off. I mean, it's insanity.
Yeah. So I think a lot of guys are listening to you right now talking about, charging more, doing this stuff, knowing your numbers, and they're probably thinking to themselves, like, great, like, that's awesome. I want to do that. But how do I do that? Like, how do I practically go about that? Because I'm sure it's not the first time they've heard that, but practically. And I think this is kind of a great segue into some of these 5 tips here. Let's start going into what can someone do to start moving in that direction?
To charging enough money. I mean, figuring out all of that back end stuff, that's another podcast.
Yeah.
Right. That's a whole other, show. It's a whole, we need, a lot more time. But when we're talking about just the 5 secret weapons, the first thing is about how you show up. Again, and when we're showing up, we want to start triggering certain actions, and we call these our 5 secret weapons. First one is what we call our mini website card, which is a digital, a digital card. You ever give your business card? They're completely useless. The guy's going to throw it in the garbage. He'll put it in his pocket. He'll forget about it. You'll never remember who you are. But when you have a digital card that has, and we're talking digital card that has, your photo gallery, it has video content, it has testimonials, and it has a way to schedule appointments with you. It has all your social media baked in. They can share that and refer others, so it becomes the referral mechanism. I mean, this mini website card has like 15 different, uses, but what its number one use is to separate you from the competition. Now, when do we use this? I'll talk about deploying each one of these at what points in the sales system, because ultimately these 5 secret weapons, guys, if you're listening, comes from a broader elite. We call it the elite builder sales system. It's really the sales system of elite builders, and it's deploying these at strategic times throughout the sales process.
Yeah.
Right? So when we're on that first call and we're just getting that first call with somebody, we're getting to know them, we really should be qualifying, right? If we're qualifying at that point in time and they become a qualified lead, and we're going to meet them in the next few days to meet on site and talk about their project or their job, whatever they have. We want to send that mini web card while we're on the phone with them via text.
Nice.
So that you can go through it with them. Now, this is what we call shocking and wowing. Because we really want to shock and wow the client to go, holy shit, nobody else is doing that. This
cool.
is very cool, right? And and then you can scroll through it with them. Say, just scroll through this with me. Here's a couple of things you can check out after our call to learn more about us and what we bring to the table. In fact, there's a short video message in there about our team, what we do, our process, these things. This is like totally next level, mind blower for the client, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first secret weapon, shock and wow them with this mini web card, right? And you guys, you can get to me if you want. Check out our website, 4levelcoach.com, the number 4levelcoach.com. And we, we can schedule a call, whatever you need. I can go through this stuff in more detail. I can't hit you with everything on this podcast. But this mini web card, first one. Now, before we show up for that first meeting, we've already triggered, we've already shocked and wowed them already. So we've separated ourselves from the competition already. But now the next layer, the next piece strategically deployed would be what we call our shock and wow package. Now, this is ultimately an introduction sales package that is extremely well crafted and strategically thought out.
Love it.
Now, what are we doing with this package? We are developing this package to answer all of the questions that are going on in the head of the client before you get there, because they have concerns, they have worries, they are, there's a lot going on. They've had past experiences. With trades, remodelers, painters, right? Like they've had those experiences, some bad. And these bad experiences have them concerned about meeting you next. Right. So what do we want to do in that shock and wow? The shock and wow is strategically built and developed to answer every single question that's going on in their head already. Now, if you can answer the questions before they are asked strategically, you win. My belief is you win, right? So we've shock and wowed them with a mini web card. We've deployed this by email with a digital sales package that answers all the questions before you show up.
Oh, that's cool.
We have a system of answering those questions, knowing what's in their head, and then doing it very strategically. So then that's deployed. Now, you haven't even met them yet. Right? In person. You haven't met in person. Talked on the phone. Right? So now we meet them in person. And the fact of the matter is, guys, we've already closed the deal. It's now just a matter of working out the details, because we want them fearful of going to anyone else but you. Right? That's how we charge more money. That's how we separate us from, Joe will say, who doesn't understand his business or his numbers, and we have to compete against that. No, like, separate yourself. The system will do that. Now, once we have done that and we've shown up, now we can kind of walk through 2 or 3 parts of that introduction package or our shock and wow package while we're there. Say, hey, whether you had time to go through it or not, let me point out a few things there that's really important before we move forward. Right? So now we're starting to dig into a couple of things. We leave them with some more. And then after that meeting, we're likely going to get into creating an estimate or going back to the drawing board to say, hey, what is this going to cost to do the project? Whatever, the case is in your sales process, right? But before we do that next, so we've left that meeting, the next secret weapon to deploy would be a cost guide or a process guide. Now, this is to just give them a guide about how you're going to do this estimate and where you get these numbers from and why these numbers are built for them. So now you're adding value. You're educating them about the process. Right?
One thing I just want to stop you right there, man. I don't want to cut you off, but
no, please do. I'll go on forever.
No, so just for you guys listening right now, think about this. Like, up until this point of how much proof that you've delivered up until this point that you're the real deal. It's like you've got all the images, all the testimonials up front. Okay, like this guy knows what he's doing. Then you got all of the education. So you've basically gone to the point of delivering a lot of value up front, right? A lot of value. Like, a lot of guys will say, oh, we deliver free estimates. That's like our value, but it's like everybody's doing that. So what we're talking about here, positioning, and what Randy's really talking about, this system at this point, it's like, think about how much work in advance has been done here just to position yourself as being like this authority. Anyway, because I was
every one of those is bang on. It's being an authority. What is this whole system supposed to do, right? It creates the know, like, and trust factor. They have to know, like, and trust you. And they have to be building, you are building confidence that you are the only choice. So when we get to the number, before at the end of this thing, and we get to sharing the price with them, they're sold. In fact, they're fearful to go anywhere else.
So much commitment too on the front end as well, right? They've spent all this time going through this. It's like, well, I've come this far.
Well, hopefully at this point, honestly, when you drip these first 2 secret weapons, and then we get to the third, before we even get to the third, in a lot of cases, they won't even bother seeing anyone else at this point.
Wow.
right? Like, and we know this happens, was proof in this that it happens. And then we move from there into that cost guide, and we had our third secret weapon. And now we talk about, before we give that estimate, again, for remodelers, the painters, it might be a little bit different, but for the remodelers, whether it's landscapers or remodelers, now we want to give what we refer to as the Dream 100. So we've talked about your project and we know what you want, but do you know these other, call it the Dream 50, the Dream 20, Dream 100, whatever your number is, these 50 to 100 items that you may even know exists that you can have in your project. Now you're talking about adding more value and taking their project up 10 notches by deploying some things, that they've never considered. Like, let's just talk for a custom builder, right? A heated driveway. It's snowing like hell out here today. Heated driveway would be nice. But I didn't think about that when I was getting my project done, right? Yeah. What about just simple things like, USB chargers, in-cabinet chargers, right? Or, wherever our remodel is, what is the cool shit that they want and will love? And here's the thing with the Dream 100. It basically, just refer to it as this. It's the cool shit they don't even know exists, that that you're bringing to them, that takes their project up 10 notches, and no one else is talking to them about this. So if you've deployed these first 2, 3, 4 by this point, and you're a solutions provider, plus you're taking the project to another level, you're adding value along the way. It's like,
you're a true expert too. Yeah. Like, you're not just an order taker, you're an advisor at that point.
Now, what does the Dream 100 also do? It takes their project up. It does two big things. One, it's going to give them an opportunity to talk about the project after with their friends. And they want to show them the cool shit that they had put in that the remodeler suggested to them that they weren't even thinking about. And all of a sudden, there is something for them to talk about in their project that they would have never talked about before. And now you become part of that topic, huge referrals out of that.
That's cool.
Right? So there's another level to that, and a good reason. Second great reason, you ever get upsold at a store, right? This is just upselling. It's just upselling to increase price. Why do we want to increase price? Because we'd like to make some more money. I want to take that $30,000 project, turn it into 35, 40. I want to take the 100,000 and turn it into 110 or 120. Yeah. Right? No matter what project size, there's more dollars on the table that they can't resist, because the shit is what they want. It's going to make it so much cooler than they had envisioned all along, right? So that's a huge one. Right?
Really cool.
That's number 4. Now, the fifth and final one is what we deploy when we get to our proposal meeting, right? And I say proposal meeting. We don't just email them the number.
Yeah.
Right? Because are you on page with me or what?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about this all the time, and contractors will like fight me on this. They'll be like, no, like I email over estimates. I get like great conversion on that. I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna close higher. Like, I don't know what they're selling them for, but you're gonna have more success meeting it. Period. That's
well, and email it over if you want to compete with Joe, who doesn't know how to price his job and price it at that level. But don't email it over if you want to take your price point up, because there's a process to taking this thing up. Now, it's critical that you increase price, because, again, you will never build a business that can truly grow and scale, create a well-oiled machine that gets you any freedom long-term, and that can create you a fortune and not just a living. And if we want to make just a living, keep doing what you're doing and don't worry about any of this. But if you want to take the business to the next level, it's imperative that we think differently about how we show up. Part of how we show up is now a real, true proposal presentation. Now, I won't get into the presentation side of the proposal, but I want to show them all the things. Like, we've delivered a lots of value and amazing content up to this point, right? We've increased our confidence level. The trust is very high. Now let's talk about when we start the project. I want to talk to them and like, this deal's already done before I get to the price. So we're figuring, as we close this deal today, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, and we are leaving this job today. Here's what's going to happen moving forward. Here's how we use our process. Here's how our team will deploy. Here's how we use our software. Walk them through the back end of the business a little bit. You know, give them an idea of what the experience is going to be like after we close this deal. That's part of the proposal presentation. Now, during that, what we lastly want to drip in here, this last piece, it's the icing on the cake, is what we call our scorecard system. So we want to call it the client to the remodeler scorecard. In other words, you share with them that you have a scorecard system that ensures that everything we do moving forward, we are kept accountable by our scorecard that we ask you to give us throughout the project to ensure that I, as the owner, if I'm selling the job, can make sure my team is executing at the level that we expect and at the client experience that we deliver. And if we can't do that, we need to know before that the project is over, and they need to know that we fix that along the way. Now, would you agree to that, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, to deliver that scorecard system for us so that we can give you an experience you've never seen before?
That's very cool. So basically what you're doing is you're predefining what they would define as success or like a great experience.
Big time.
Very
and
cool.
now we'll get to the price. And the price is now more about all of what we're bringing to the table and not just a number that competes with Joe.
Yeah.
Right. Now they understand the value behind the number. And now you have more confidence about taking that number up because you've already closed the deal. You closed it 3 weeks before this, 2 weeks, depending on your cycle time, right? Your sales cycle. But you probably closed it on the Shock and Wow package. It started, remember, with the mini website card to the Shock and Wow sales package, to the cost guide, to the Dream 100, Dream 20, Dream 50, whatever your number is, and then to the scorecard system that just puts the icing on the cake to wrap this thing up and take the whole thing to another level.
Now, contrast that. It's like these 5 secret weapons. Contrast that with the guy who will talk about price on the very first call when the customer says, like, yeah, what would you charge for a kitchen remodel or something, right? It's like there's absolutely no comparison of what you'd be like. If, let's say that you said on that first call, yeah, you're looking at 60 grand, the person's going to be like, what? But you've built so much value on the front end that, like, by the time they get to that number, it's not even a kitchen they're buying. It's like the experience, the dreams, the memories, you know, everything.
Yeah. And how do we throw out a number when we don't know what the hell they want anyway? It's impossible.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe in talking about a range because I want to qualify them out. I mean, if they're not in the ballpark of what we believe it's going to cost to do their project, then we might as well not go show up. This is why we don't deploy any of this until they're qualified. So even in this elite builder sales system, we have a full vetting and qualifying process before we even get to that point. Right. Which is, and here's the thing, guys, I don't want you running around chasing, you know, bad leads and opportunities. And here's what's so cool, and what Matt does for you guys is get you set up so that, you know, you have the right clients coming to you with the people that are willing to pay more. Because if you go by word of mouth, right? If we're strictly living by word of mouth in our business, you know, if we've had the wrong clients in the beginning, and they're just, you know, referring themselves to more wrong clients, none of this works, because this only works when we have the right client willing to pay more for what we do. And if they're not, then this
stuck
doesn't
in that
work.
network. You're stuck in that existing network. Yeah.
And so we got to get outside of that if we want to create a real business. We do. We just have to get outside of that. That's why, you know, we talk about the marketing acquisition, or the acquisition machine, which entails, you know, both marketing and sales. Yeah. And it's a machine. And think about a machine, guys, and I don't know, Matt, how you think about this, or if you're familiar with Dean Jackson. I love Dean Jackson, a good, you know, smart marketing guy, right? Do you know Dean, or are you familiar with?
I love marketing podcasts.
Yeah. And I know Dean and Joe personally. I've been in lots of groups with those guys, and they're just, you know, great dudes. But Dean is just a really smart marketing mind. And you might have heard then he talks about the vending machine, right? The marketing vending machine. And so, guys, you need to be creating this vending machine that, Matt is delivering for you at the end of the day, because we want a vending machine and not a slot machine. We don't want to be putting our money into marketing and not knowing what the hell we're going to get out or how refined that's going to be. And if we're not following our metrics and the measures to be able to get that better, then our whole sales system doesn't work. We need the machine to be spitting us out the right client, like a vending machine would be if you wanted, press A6 and get the right chocolate bar, right? We have to put the right money in, get the right client out, and then create the sales system behind it.
100%.
Closes more deals at much higher price points. Now you've got something that you can take to the next level.
100%. Randy, we're coming at the end here. I think that, anyone listening right now who has been paying attention is probably going to walk away with a ton of value and a ton of knowledge of just how to really walk someone through a real sales process and then be able to charge more and differentiate themselves from all these other guys, especially now with all this talk of like the economy and blah, blah, blah. So this couldn't have been better timing. Randy, you mentioned it earlier in the show, but if someone wants to reach out to you guys and just learn a little bit more about 4-level coaching, where can they go?
Go to just the number 4levelcoach.com. We have, various programs for different levels of your business, whether you're doing, 0 to $1 million. We have what we call our farm system, an incredible program actually for the farm system. No monthly fees, one-time fee, help you get to $1 million or more. Cool. Then you move into our core program, and our core program is $1 million plus. But what we do have is interesting coming out is our Elite Builder Sales System book. And it's literally just doing final edits. It should be up on Amazon in the next, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks. And it encompasses this and so much more, because really there's, like I talked about the vetting system and everything else. You grab the book on Amazon. It's the Elite Builder Sales System. Should be up in the next few weeks, guys.
Well, awesome. Yeah, definitely make sure to grab that book. I'll check it out for sure. That sounds really cool. Randy, man, thanks again for being on the show today. And guys, thanks for tuning in.
Excellent.